All right, well, we will go ahead and get started. Hopefully you are in the right place. You are here on Pi Day to learn a little bit more about the Quantile Framework and especially the new Quantiles.com. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jason Turner. I'm the Director of Professional Development here at MetaMetrics, and I'm joined by Dave Lyons, who is our Senior Product Manager. I'll be talking to you here for the first few minutes, giving you some reminders on the Quantile Framework, and then Dave will be joining in and introducing the new Quantiles.com, which I know you are all here to see. Before we get started, let me get a few housekeeping items out of the way. If you experience any technical difficulties during this session, I have put a number up on the screen, 919-886-0019. Feel free to call that number, and we'll try and help you out the best we can. During the course of this session, you may have some questions. Because of the size of the audience, we want to limit our questions till the end. So feel free to, we will leave time for Q&A at the end, but also you'll see a chat panel that's available to you through WebEx. So feel free to list your questions, and then when we get to the end, we'll be sure to address those. When you do submit your questions, please be sure to include your name and the organization that you are with. Let me give you a bit of an overview of what we're going to cover today. We're going to spend a few minutes refreshing your memory on what exactly is the Quantile Framework for Mathematics. Some of you may already be aware of this or know this, but could use a few refresher points. For others, you not know as much, and so we want to spend just a few minutes reviewing that. We want to talk specifically about what can be done with those quantile measures and how we see those being used in the classroom. So we already see those being used around schools and districts in the U.S., and we want to share some of that experience with you. And at that point, I'm going to turn it over to Dave, and Dave is going to dive a little deeper into the new Quantile website. And end by talking a little bit more about the Summer Math Initiative we've developed here at MetaMetrics. And as we close out, as we mentioned in the information that circulated beforehand, there will be free pie. And so we will be doing a drawing, and we'll let you know who will be taking home free pie here on Pi Day. So let's go ahead and jump in. Let's start by asking just a basic question, which is, what exactly is the Quantile Framework? Why do I need to know about it? So I want to start by providing just a little bit of background on the framework. One of the questions that comes up, particularly if you are already aware of the Lexile framework, is as I start to hear about the Quantile framework, it strikes me that there's some real similarities. So what are those similarities? And or in fact, are Lexile and the Quantile framework similar at all? They actually do have some similarities. There's actually some overlap there. Both the Lexile and the Quantile frameworks are based on developmental scales. These are scales that allow us to track and measure growth over time. Both the Lexile and the Quantile framework also measure the student and the resource, and we put it on the same scale. So if you think about what you know when it comes to the Lexile framework, you know that with the Lexile scale, I can measure both the student and the book or the text or whatever it is that we're talking, whatever reading material we're talking about. We can do the same thing now on the math side. So I can measure a student's math level, but I can also look at the skills and concepts with which the student is engaging and measure that as well. So in the same way that we have placed the student and the text on the same scale on the Lexile side, we're doing the exact same thing on the Quantile side. And lastly, we hope that both have instructional implications. So we want the teacher in the classroom or the district leader who's tracking growth, we want this information to have implications and meaning beyond being just a measure. So we want there to be some instructional import in what the information offers. So if we start to define the Quantile framework, I think it's best to think of the Quantile framework like a yardstick. The Quantile Scale like a yardstick. It's a way to measure, one, a student's mathematical knowledge on the one hand, and on the other, to be able to gauge the difficulty of the math skills and topics. Here's another way, and I like this way even better. This is just a pictorial representation of the Quantile Scale, and you can see that whether we're talking about math skills or concepts, or whether we're talking about the student, we're using the same scale to characterize both. And so a student can have a quantile measure in the same way that a skill or concept is going to have a quantile measure. Let's dive a little bit deeper into what the Quantile Framework is. I think it's important to look at a few of the essential concepts. We're pretty limited in time today, so we're not going to dive too deep, but I do want to mention just a few things. We already mentioned, and that's this idea of a quantile measure. So when you hear that phrase, when you hear the word quantile measure, remember that has two applications. One, on the student side, that measure indicates that student's readiness for instruction. It lets us know what that student is ready to learn. But it also can apply to the to math skills and concepts. So when you see that a particular skill, for example, skill of rounding whole numbers, has a quantile measure, what that indicates is the task difficulty associated with that skill relative to a whole host of other mathematical skills and concepts. And this is the next phase, or the next term. And you'll see this if you've been on our website. You've already seen this term. Some of you may already be familiar with it, and that's this term QTaxon. What exactly is a QTaxon? I think for today's purposes, the best way to think of this term is to think of a QTaxon as a formal term for a mathematical skill or concept. All right, so anytime you see that on the website or you hear Dave or myself mention that, think of these specific mathematical skills and concepts, and for each one of them, attached a quantile measure, meaning we have placed them on the quantile scale. To be able to do that, we have essentially formed this taxonomy of all of these math skills and concepts. You think back to biology, you remember what a taxonomy is. It's this ordering. Well, if you start to pick that in your head, then you know that for any math skill or concept that you pick, you can look prior to that and see what are the prerequisite skills. What are the prerequisite skills that are necessary that build this particular skill in question? And we do the same thing going the other way. So remember, in math, every skill is building towards something else, is building toward another skill or concept. So not only can we look prior and see what are the impending skills, we can look for what's coming next. We can look for what we have called those impending QTaxons or impending skills. So let's start to dig down a little bit deeper and talk about, if I had that information, if I know what a student's math level is and I know what the level of these skills and concepts are, what can I do with that? How can I use that in the classroom? Well, one, I'm able to link student ability, or I should say student level, to skill difficulty in the same way that we did with reading. I know where you are as a reader. I know where this text falls. I'm able to do something with that information. Namely, I'm able to differentiate. So that takes on, that becomes extremely important as we talk about moving from whole class instruction to beginning to differentiate for different groups of learners, for the struggling mathematician or those that are on target or perhaps even those that are advanced. Knowing where that student is also allows me to forecast, what students' likely success rate will be given where they are on this scale. If I'm a leader or a school leader, it also allows me to begin to track growth over time. So again, not just within a year, but from year to year as we go through a student's academic career. How do we see these measures being used in the classroom? Conceptually, we see that if you look here, for example, at a quantile scale, and we place all of these skills and concepts, say that I'm going to be teaching over the next month or 2 months, they range from around 840 to about 1,000 quantiles. Now, go a step further and actually begin to contrast where my students are in relation to where these skills are. So I can see students like Sally and Jim that are well above the material that we're going to be teaching. I can see that students like Raul are well targeted, but I can see that students like Jacob, Lynn, and Victor are likely going to struggle. I can see they're quite a bit below the difficulty level of the skills and concepts that we're going to be addressing. What I'm going to then do is look at where my students are versus where these skills and concepts are, and begin to ask, how am I going to target those students? How does the range of ability measures in my classroom influence what exactly the instructional decisions that I'm going to make? Who are the students that are going to need more targeting? Who are the students that may be ready for enrichment activities? To answer any of those questions, I have to be able to measure. I have to know where students sit in terms of their math level. I also want to know where does the difficulty level of these skills and concepts fall. In terms of the practical benefits of the Quantile Framework, one, see this primarily as a tool to differentiate instruction. I now can target each of my students in addition to determining student readiness. Where are my students in terms of their readiness for instruction, their readiness to learn? It also allows me that, having that quantile measure also allows me to track their growth and make some important instructional decisions about who I'm going to target them. That brings me to what we see as one of the essential features of the Quantile Framework, and that's this idea of a knowledge cluster. A knowledge cluster may sound a bit technical, but for those of you who haven't taken that dive down into the Quantile Framework, knowledge cluster really is just our way of characterizing that taxonomy that I mentioned earlier. Remember the taxonomy? And we can look at those prior skills and see what are these prerequisite skills that are necessary. We can look at some of the supporting skills, and we can look at some of those appending skills and see what comes next. The knowledge cluster is a way to encapsulate all of that, to bring that to you in sort of a nice, easy-to-view, digestible format. To do that, I want to actually reference the old website. And I don't want that to confuse anybody because what you're going to see here in a few minutes is the new website. But for those of you who are already familiar with the Quantile website, I want to anchor this in something you already know and something you're already familiar with. So how does the knowledge cluster work? Look at something like solving one-step linear equations, and you can see here when you look at a knowledge cluster, rendering of a knowledge cluster, it has a quantile measure of about 650, but I can also look and see what are the prerequisite skills. Take a closer look at that list of prerequisite skills. Those are the skills that are necessary for success or to be successful with the primary skill that we're concerned with. If you look a little closer, you'll notice that each one of those prerequisite skills also has a corresponding quantile measure. You start to get an idea now of how we can do some of this skill concept mapping, where we can look at where students in my class are and where they may fall on the quantile scale, and then start to ask, how am I going to respond to that? Let's take a particular skill in this case, investigating and determining the relationship between the diameter and the circumference of a circle of pi. Here, when I look at the knowledge cluster, I see that it has a quantile measure of 930. Again, I can look at those prerequisite skills, see what the corresponding quantile measure is. As a practicing classroom educator, I'm going to look and make a decision about what the most appropriate prerequisite skill that I want to introduce to this group of students, to a struggling group of students. And of course, informing that decision is going to be knowing where those students fall on the quantile scale. In this case, I may pick a skill like drawing circles, the lower quantile measure of 810. And when I do that, you'll notice now that I have even additional prerequisite skills build up to this drawing circles skill. You'll notice that each one of those also has a corresponding quantile measure. And what this knowledge cluster is giving us is the ability to stair-step our way down through this taxonomy. I could, if I wanted to, drill all the way down to the foundational. You'll notice that we've gone from around 930 quantiles down to around 90 or 70 quantiles. And hopefully we don't find that big of a range in a classroom, but we can. And more importantly, I have the ability to take a look through the knowledge cluster at essentially a skill map or a concept map, and way down and to get a sense of how I'm going to match the groups in my classroom, particularly those struggling mathematicians. Let's take the way this plays out in practice. So here we have, and this is an actual roster with the names changed, but we find educators using this information in the same way they've used Lexiles, where you have a roster of students. Beside those students and their names, we have corresponding Lexile measures. We've done the same thing here with math. So we have a roster of students with corresponding quantile measures. As I'm considering a particular lesson, and it's writing a proportion to model a word problem with a quantile measure of 720, knowing that information on those students and simultaneously having access to the knowledge cluster allows me to move from whole class instruction to really begin to think about how I'm going to differentiate for this group. I can now see immediately who my students are that are going to be well targeted, that are well within this range. I can also start to get a sense of who students are that are going to need mediation. And using something like the knowledge cluster is what allows me to identify those prerequisite skills for those particular students, and allows me to target them in a meaningful way. If I want to go to the other end of the spectrum, I have the ability to do that as well. I can look at those students who are going to be ready for enrichment. Those are students like you see here, Ashley, Lauren, and Corey, and can look up the scale and see what are those skills that come next. And if I've split my classroom up into groups, am I able to then link those students with activities that are going to not only reinforce what we've done in this lesson, but supplement and expand the material that we've covered. So that gives you, for many of you, hopefully that was a refresher, and that gives you an idea of the way that we can use the knowledge clusters, and we see the knowledge clusters being used in classrooms at schools across the country. Now, for those of you who have been on the site, you recognize the knowledge clusters that we just went through. You recognize the old site, or hopefully you did. Really exciting now is I'm going to turn this over to Dave Lines, who is going to unveil some of the new changes that are now available on the site.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Jason, and thanks to all of you for joining us today. Happy Pi Day. Hope you're having a good Pi Day. We are. We all ate pie earlier today. So we're a little sleepy, but we're really excited about the new website. So we're going to talk to you a little bit about that now. So we are introducing today, launching today, Quantiles.com version 2.0. This is not Quantiles.com version 2.0. This is Quantiles.com version 1.0. This was a fantastic website with a lot of great information, but as you can see, it looks a little bit outdated. I'm sure it was first developed back in 2006. It had all the bells and whistles that a version 2.0 browser could handle, but we're a little bit past that now. So we wanted to do some updates to the site. So here's some of the things that we worked on or wanted to focus on. We wanted to do really an overall new site design. Obviously, we wanted to update the look and feel of the site, make it look a little bit more modern. We want to work on the navigation of the site. We did some usability testing and found that lo and behold, some of our users were having a hard time finding the information that they were looking for, so we wanted to update that. And as we began to look more closely at that, we found out that most of the information on the site could really fit into two high-level categories. It was either information about the Quantile Framework or tools that you could use with the Quantile Framework. So we actually divided the contents of the site up in that way. Another thing we wanted to do is to make the site tablet and phone friendly. So the next time you're standing in line at the bank and you're trying to remember what the prerequisite skills were for that QTaxon you were looking at this morning, just whip out your smartphone and you can get to that information. We've also rewritten a lot of the content. Those of you who are familiar with the old website know that there were a lot of words. And if a picture is worth 1,000 words, we've added a lot of pictures and knocked out thousands of words. And hopefully that helps communicate the information that we're trying to get across a little bit better. We also updated some of our tools. We revised the Math Skills Database Search Tool and also the Find Your Textbook Search Tool. So let's go ahead and take a look. There we go. And here we are. So this is the new site. And I hope you'll agree with me that it does have a very updated and modern look. Cleaner, a lot more white space. I think you can see things a lot better. This is, of course, the home page of the site. So let's go ahead and start to take a look around. As I mentioned, we broke up the navigation into these sort of two high-level areas. We have about the Quantile Framework, and this is all sort of information, and I'll take a little closer look at this in a minute. also have used the Quantile Framework, and this is where we've put all of the tools that hopefully some of you are familiar with. The Math Skills Database, of course, the Quantile Teacher Assistant, Find Textbook, Math at Home, and some others. We've also added this new section here, which I sort of call our new features section, and this is an area of the site on the home page where we're going to highlight new things that we really want people to know about. Some of this that we have up here now, some information for folks who are new to Quantile measures. You can click on some links here and go get some more information. We have a slide here where we give some links to information about the Common Core. This slide, which talks about the Summer Math Challenge, which I'm going to get to in a few minutes. And last but not least, our social media slide. And so in case you didn't know it, you can go like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter. You can subscribe to our RSS feed. You can even go to our YouTube channel to watch Quantile videos if you're running out of things to do. We also have this site down here, which is our what we call the Explore section. Here we have links to a lot of the information that we're putting out on a daily basis. So whenever we put out a new blog post or a new news item, a new video on our YouTube channel, or we post a new event to one of our websites, that information is automatically going to show up here on the home page of the site, so it'll be easy for you to find. We also have some links down at the bottom here to get into the Quantile tools, just to help make sure that people know what these tools are for and how to get to them. Now I'm going to take a little closer look at some of the content. As I mentioned, we have these different sort of sub-pages about the Quantile Framework section. First I'm going to look at is what is the Quantile Framework here? Basically, this is for somebody who really doesn't know anything about the Quantile Framework and they just want to get some very basic information. This is where you would go. The next area we have is benefits for learners. This information on this page is really targeted at parents who want more information about how the Quantile measure is being used with their kids in school, or maybe they just got a end of grade score report that has a Quantile measure on it and they want to know a little bit more about that. We also have a section that's benefits for educators, which is exactly what you might expect. We show information here for teachers, principals, departments of education, educators in general, to help find out how they can use Quantiles in the classroom. We also have a benefits for partner section. If you're a partner, you're publishing a textbook or some software, and you want to link your product with the Quantile Framework, this is where you would go to get more information about that. And let's see, we also have our media and publications page. We've published quite a lot of information about the Quantile Framework, and this is where you can go to dive a little bit deeper into some of the research and science behind the Quantile Framework. And we have a frequently asked questions section, because what good website wouldn't? And let's see, now I'm going to take a look at use the Quantile Framework. And as I said before, this is where we have all the Quantile Framework tools. And the thing that I want to point out here is that we have updated some of our tools, the Math Skills Database and Find Your Textbook. We have not updated the Quantile Teacher Assistant or Math at Home. So if you are familiar with these tools, they're pretty much the same as they have been, and you will be able to find them from the Use the Quantile Framework section, and used as you have in the past. Math at Home is one of our products to help parents find resources for their kids. But I did show you some of the tools we have updated. We have the Math Skills Database here. This was up in some of the screenshots that Jason was showing you earlier, and this is the new and improved version. In the Math Skills Database, you can search for math skills and concepts in a couple different ways. You can search by state standards. So you could go here and select your state, or if you wanted to, you could select the Common Core. And under the course down here, you could select either a grade or a particular course. I'll just grade 1 here. And then search, and we'll give you a whole list of QTaxons, which is, as Jason mentioned, are really skills and concepts that relate to Common Core Grade 1. If you click on one of these, you'll see it looks kind of similar to what we had on the old site. We still have our QTaxon details page. We have knowledge cluster information here with your prerequisites supporting and impending skills. We have lists of resources that you can see relate to this QTaxon, and we can also show you the specific core state standards that relate to this QTaxon. Another way that you can search this math skills database is by searching for keywords. And I like this one because I can type something really simple like fractions. And in a way, I can get to a whole list of skills and concepts that relate to fractions. And I could also narrow this down, of course, by searching for different strands or a specific quantile measure, if I wanted to find something that was in line with my classroom. And the other search tool that we have updated is our Find Your Textbook search tool. So if you're a teacher and you know that you're going to be teaching a particular lesson in class the next day, and you want to make sure that that lesson's at about the right level for your classroom, you could go in here and, let's see, you could search by publisher. I'm just going to pick one here, SMC Curriculum. Search on that one, and it gives me a list of all the textbooks that we aligned with the Quantile Framework. So if I click on these, it actually shows me the table of contents for that textbook. And then each chapter and lesson in the textbook, I can know the related QTaxons. So, and I'm also seeing a quantile measure here. So I can look at this pretty quickly and see whether or not this is going to be at the right level for my classroom. I can also dig a little bit deeper and click on the name of the QTaxon, and it's going to, let me try that again. Yep, and it's going to dive down again to the QTaxon details page, and I can get all the same information, the knowledge cluster. If I've looked at this and said, well, this is going to be a little bit high level for my kids, I can go in and see what prerequisite skills are. Or again, if I'm just differentiating in the classroom, I can also see supporting and impending skills. And there are resources that are associated with this QTaxon, and we can also see the state standards. If I just pick Common Core here and click on Submit, it will show me the Common Core state standards that are related to this particular QTaxon. And the other new thing about our website is page, which talks about the Summer Math Challenge. And I'm actually going to jump back to our PowerPoint presentation here. Let's see, I think I want this one. That seems, is that the right one? There we go. Okay, here, right back where we started. That's complete. What's coming? So as I mentioned before, we did not revise all of the tools on our website yet. Something that we're hoping to do a little bit later this year, maybe this summer, is take a close look at the Quantile Teacher Assistant and the Math at Home tools and see what we can do, again, to make those a little bit more user-friendly and update them a bit. And we're going to add a registration system to the website where you can go and sign up for an account. And if you do that, then we can send you email updates when we do updates to the site and do abreast of upcoming events, things like that. And the other thing that will be really useful about this registration system is if you're a teacher, for example, and you know that you're using a particular textbook in your classroom, you'll be able to enter that information when you register, and the site's going to remember that so you don't have to do that again every time you come back. And last but not least, the other thing that's coming is the Summer Math Challenge. So, introducing the Summer Math Challenge. This question is, why do we need a summer math program? And I'm sure a lot of you already know this, but in case you don't, here's why. This is research that we've seen around summer math loss. We know, first and foremost, that summer math loss is more pronounced than reading loss. So students are actually losing more math skill ability over the summer than they are losing reading ability. We also that students are losing math ability regardless of household income levels. This is really hitting across the spectrum, not just free and reduced lunch or lower income level kids, but all kids. And this should really be terribly surprising. Parents are more likely to read with their children than practice math skills. I have 3 children, and at the end of the day, when we get everybody bathed and in their jammies, we don't sit down to do math problems. We sit down to read. So we'd like to change that. And contributing to this problem is the fact that the math practice is really, it's less intuitive and it's more technical than reading practice. And parents can easily be intimidated by math stuff. Maybe they don't know as much about it as they think they should. So to summarize, on average, all students, regardless of socioeconomic status, lose approximately 2.6 months of grade level equivalency in mathematical computation over the summer months each year. That's really a staggering number. If you think about adding up over the course of a student's primary education, that's a lot of math ability that's just going by the wayside. So here's the good news. This summer, MetaMetrics is entering the Summer Math Challenge. And stress right at the start that the Summer Math Challenge is free. It does not cost anything to sign up for this. All you have to do is go to our website and sign up. So the Summer Math Challenge is a 6-week-long, email-based math skills maintenance program. So let me break that down for you a little bit. We're going to focus on reinforcing skills acquired during the previous school year. We're going to target, for this summer, we're going to start out targeting students who are entering grades 3 through 6 in the fall. So, in other words, kids who have just completed grades 2 through 5. We're going to level them based on Quantile score, or if they don't have a Quantile score, you'll just be able to enter their grade. And we'll come up with a Quantile score based on that information. And the way it's going to work is that we're going to send out daily emails that are going to address one math concept every week, and activities and resources that are related to this math concept that will help parents talk about math concept and work on the math concept with kids on a daily basis. The idea is that you don't sit down at the end of the day to do math with your kids. You do math all day, whenever it comes up throughout the day. And by sending the parents these daily emails, we're going to be planting these ideas for activities and resources in their heads every morning. And they might not read every single email, but hopefully they'll read some of them or most of them and be thinking about these math concepts and activities throughout the week. And I should point out that these math concepts will be based on the critical areas of focus in the Common Core State Standards. And to sign up, all you have to do is visit quantiles.com. You create an account for yourself and then enroll your child in the Math Challenge. You'll be able to come back to the website to track your child's progress throughout the program and also provide us with feedback on the Summer Math Challenge. So this is what a sample daily email might look like. So as a parent, you're checking your email in the morning and you see, hooray, I got my email from MetaMetrics, Summer Math Challenge. And in this particular email, we're saying that you're in week 4 of the Summer Math Challenge, and the math concept that we're talking about this week is place value. So hello, parent. In this case, it's me, David. Welcome to week 4 of the Summer Math Challenge. This week, you, Oliver, that's one of my sons, will be focusing on place value, understanding the value of digits based on their position in a number. And then we do an activity. Here's an activity to get you started. This activity is called the right place. And we say, numbers are everywhere. This week, help your child find 2- and 3-digit whole numbers on road signs, magazines, favorite TV shows, games, books, whatever. Read the numbers and use the appropriate words. For example, rather than saying the number 232 at 232, so I just said it wrong, you're to say 232. and work with your child to be sure the number is always said correctly. The students understand the very important concept of place value. So this is what one of our sample emails may look like. And here's a mock-up of what the web page will probably look like. Might be a little bit different from this, but this is the general idea. So you'll be able to come to the Summer Math Challenge website, and you'll be able to see a list of the kids that you've signed up for the Summer Math Challenge. In this case, I have a couple of my kids, Josephine and Oliver, and I can see by looking at the tiles how we've gone through the Summer Math Challenge. So the weeks that we've completed, the tiles are in color, and the weeks that we haven't done yet, the tiles are still in gray. And if I was to click on any one of these tiles, I'd see the math concept for that week, and I'd also be able to see a list of activities and resources that we'll be sending out in our emails for that week. So if for some reason you miss some of them, you go on vacation or something like that, you can always come back to the site and this information. And we'll also have some sort of feature on these pages where you can check off basically that you've completed that week's activities and resources. And here are the dates that you need to know about for the Summer Math Challenge. The Summer Math Challenge information page is live today at quantile.com/summer-math. And it's pretty easy to find on the website, so please go there and check it out. Starting Wednesday, May 1st, parents or other educators, this is certainly not limited to parents, can go to the Summer Math Challenge webpage and begin enrolling kids in the Summer Math Challenge. Again, I want to stress that this is a free program, costs nothing. And then starting Monday, June 24th, parents will begin receiving the Summer Math Challenge daily emails. And again, the program is going to last for 6 weeks, so it will go through Friday, August 2nd. Okay, so let's see. Chris has been checking on questions for us. Well, the first one, this is way too easy. Is the website live now? Yes. The second question is, will this WebEx be recorded? Yes, this WebEx will be recorded, and we will be posting it later, so folks can go back and look at it.
The follow-up email that they'll receive on Monday.
And that will be going in the follow-up email. I think that's all the questions that we have for now. So this is the real reason why you all showed up for this webinar.
The drum roll in case.
Yeah, I don't know how well that came across, but that was a drum roll. Now the winners are, and let me just tell you how this is going to work. We're going to send you gift certificates for porch pies. If their pies are even half as good as they look on their website, they're going to be fantastic. And porch pies will send you a fresh homemade pie straight from Los Angeles, California. And our winners today are John Jacobs, Kathy Moore, and Christopher Carter. So congratulations to the three of you, and you'll have to let us know how the pies are. I'm sure they're going to be fantastic. Okay, well, we have one more late-breaking question. Let's see what that is. This is an excellent question. There used to be a demo video about quantiles at www.quantiles.com, demo skin, SWF. The link isn't working. Thank you, Janet Jenkins, for letting us know that the link isn't working. We will have that fixed by the end of day today, and you should be able to find that on the website. I'm not going to promise by the end of the day, but let's say by tomorrow. And I think that's about all that we have for today. I just want to thank everybody once again for joining us and helping us celebrate the launch of our new website. I'm going to put up some contact information here now, maybe. If you have any comments or questions, anything you think of, be sure to contact us. You can contact Jason Turner, Director of Professional Development at jturner@lexile.com. You can contact me at lines@lexile.com. We would both love to hear from you. So once again, and enjoy the rest of your